Back to Ferris Sports Update. Time to talk Bulldog hockey as the 2015-2016 season is almost here and joined by head coach Bob Daniels. Coach, welcome back to the show.
It's good to be back on, Rob.
Get underway this week with the inter-squad game, the Crimson and Gold matchup on Saturday, exhibition game against the University of Lethbridge on Sunday. Quick start already here to the season for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it is, and boy, you know, it's like everything. It seems like it takes forever to get to the start of the season. You know, once school starts and we get on the ice a little bit, but then you blink and you say, God, it came up quick. So, you know, it can't be both, but you know, the guys are, like every time at this point of the year, everyone's excited, everyone's thrilled. It's a new season, optimism reigns everywhere, and so I'm no different, even though it's my 24th year as head coach here. I'm as equally excited now as I've always been.
I know you certainly haven't had a lot of time around the guys, but in the limited time you've seen, what have you seen from the guys you have coming back from last year?
Yeah, we have been limited under the NCAA rules. So, you know, we over the years it's loosened up a bit. So we get a couple hours a week with them in terms of skill development and so forth. And the guys returning first, they're in tremendous shape. Dave Sensor's done an outstanding job with them. You know, we're going to be looking for guys like Gerald Mayhew and Kyle Schemp and Chad McDonald, Jared Van Wormer. Our sophomore class from a year ago taking another step, though. They're going to have to be the ones that lead us offensively this year. And while they were great as freshmen, I thought last year was a step back for that group, and only because they went from really having secondary roles as freshmen to primary roles as sophomore, and that was a lot to ask. But they saw a lot of big minutes. They saw a lot of the other teams' better defenders. But, you know, now it's time for that group to take a step forward.
I know, obviously, a nice incoming recruiting class coming in that will be freshmen this year. What have you seen from those guys, kind of led by a highly touted recruit in Corey Mackin?
Yeah, Corey Mackin's the headliner, just based on he was Canadian Junior Player of the Year last year, even though he's from Philadelphia, but he did play in British Columbia Junior League. And then, you know, you look at the other group, though, the entire class looks really good to me. And you know, again, Corey Mackin was picked the preseason freshman of the year in the WCHA. Again, he was highly touted coming in. But we've got a good goaltender, Darren Smith, who should push for playing time with Charles, and then a couple of good defensemen. So it's a very good class. I think Coach Famnak did a good job of orchestrating, getting players in to kind of fit the needs, not just of this year, but as we move into the years ahead.
You mentioned the goaltending. Obviously, you have to replace one of the program's best ever, and C.J. Mata. What have you seen from the goaltending so far?
Well, you know, it's really going to fall early on Charles, and he's ready for it. You know, for Charles, I think the big thing, that's Charles Williams, the big thing for him is going to be physically, you can't be in better shape than what he is. He's in tremendous condition, but he hasn't played a lot of hockey the last 2 years, and obviously none last year in terms of game action because of the injury. And his physical talent's there. Is his mental focus going to be there for 60 minutes? And then can he come back the next night and duplicate it? And I think that's going to be the big step for him. And, you know, like I say, we like what we see in Darren Smith, the freshman, and he should be able to spell them. But I think early on, the workload's going to go right on Charles' his shoulders.
Talk about the schedule, a challenging schedule, especially here in the first month of the season. Home and home with Western Michigan to start the year. Then you've got Michigan Tech, Minnesota State, Wisconsin. Talk about those opponents.
Yeah, no, our beginning of the year schedule is really gonna be a challenge, which is great, and it's gonna make us a better team. But you know, you start with Western home and home; they're gonna have a very good squad. We turn around, we face Michigan Tech at home. Then it's Wisconsin at home, Tech on the road, and Minnesota State. And all those teams are formidable opponents. And it's not to downplay the rest of our schedule. It's just that it seems to be front-loaded with what you would say at this time of the year are some teams that are going to be known nationally. And that's our goal. It is every year. We've met that goal quite often the last 10 years or so. But our goal is going to be one of those teams that's at the end of the season we're in the talk for the NCAA tournament.
Those types of teams coming to the Ava Glavin Ice Arena certainly help draw in some fans, and certainly that's been no shortage of fans over the past few years for the Bulldogs. Talk about that fan support, the number 12 hockey city in the United States this past year.
Yeah, it was great to see that. It seems like we're a bit of a hidden gem when it comes to game day atmosphere, and the reason I say that is anyone that comes to our games, the local community really knows, but I think on a national level, outside of the teams that come in to play us, it wasn't known that, the environment that we have, and that's directly related to the student section, which is second to none in the country, and really give us a lift on game night, as well as our community that comes and supports us. Almost every night is, if it's not a solid, it's pretty darn close. And we have a responsibility to those fans that we make sure we put our best foot forward and give them some good entertainment value for their dollar.
I know the Bulldogs have had some great success last 4 years, 2 NCAA appearances, a couple conference championships, back-to-back WCHA Final Five berths. Well, what are some of the goals this year for the Bulldogs?
Well, you know what? We start every year the same way. Our first goal is to make the playoffs. In our conference, you've got 10 teams, 8 make it. A modest goal, but you always start there. The next goal would be to win the Christmas tournament we play at the University of Minnesota. Harvard, as well as I believe it's Colgate, are the other teams that are in that tournament. And then from there, we want to win our playoffs, or we want to get home ice in the playoffs, win the playoffs, NCAA tournament bid, and then once we're in that tournament, obviously the national title.
The Bulldogs, certainly, as we mentioned, open up this weekend, inter-squad matchup exhibition game. What do you look to use these 2 games for to evaluate your team?
Well, we're going to evaluate the players, obviously. We're going to look at the different skill sets, look for some possible line chemistry. We're also going to be evaluating systems, and now we haven't had a great deal of time to work on it. What we have been is afforded a really long period of time that we could watch video and do a lot of classroom work with the kids. We've walked through some structural things, but we'll be evaluating not only the talent, but our systems and how well the guys know them.
And then we mentioned you start the year with a home-and-home series against Western Michigan. Talk about that rivalry being renewed and the fact that you'll see Western Michigan again for the first time in a few years.
Well, we're thrilled to be back with Western Michigan. And, when the conferences went through the realignment, it was just a series that fell through the cracks. We had a number of games contracted. They had a number of games contracted. These schedules are done 4 or 5 years out, and we've got, like as I said, contracted games. So to try to find time for both of us to say, okay, we've got an opening in our schedule. It took 2 years, but we finally got there. Last time we saw Western and dropped that off, that series, it was really heated. It was passionate hockey. The fans were the beneficiaries of it. Lawson Arena in Kalamazoo was selling out. Ava Gleben Arena here at Big Rapids was selling out. We had a lot of crossover. Our fans traveling there, their fans coming here. So hopefully we can pick up right where we left off. It may take a while, but I think that rivalry is going to come back strong. We do have a 5-year contract with Western Michigan right now to start each of the next 5 years. So this will give it plenty of time to get back to the torrid pace those games were played at.
Well, Coach, looking forward to another great season of Bulldog hockey, and best of luck as you get underway this week.
Thanks, Rob.
We'll be back with more Ferris Sports Update right after this.